Your Kansas City Chiefs wrapped up their first preseason game on Saturday night in Jacksonville. Hollywood Brown went down with an injury. We're going to talk about that injury and also look at a timeline on his comeback. Carson steals the show in Jacksonville and has Chiefs fans' horn level maxed out at 11. The Irish NFL show's Kieran Boyle caught up with Rees Zammit after his first NFL action. To see how the transition from rugby is going, we have that video for you. The new kickoff rule was a complete shit show. We saw what happened to Mecole Hardman. He was called for a safety. But was that the correct call? We're going to talk about those rules. We also have snap counts and much, much more. So let's talk about it, Mike.
Welcome back to All Chiefed Up. We're back with another podcast for that ass. Before we get going, hit that like button to get it out to more Chiefs fans and hit that sub button. We're trying to get to 50K before the Super Bowl. Steve, let's jump right into it. Chiefs wide receiver Marquise Hollywood Brown, who suffered a dislocation of his sternoclavicular shoulder joint Saturday night, was discharged from a Jacksonville area hospital on Sunday morning and has now been cleared to return to KC. He actually arrived back in Kansas City on Sunday night. Let's take a look at what Jesse Morse, MD, had to say on Twitter, Steve. He says, injury update, he suffered an SC dislocation. This is a very serious injury and is sometimes life-threatening. The collarbone or clavicle attaches to the sternum with a bunch of ligaments. The collarbone can pop out, dislocate to the front of the sternum, which would be an anterior dislocation, or pop behind the sternum and be a posterior dislocation. This is a picture showing if it pops forward or back. He goes on to say posterior dislocations are by far the most concerning because they're very important blood vessels that feed directly into your heart that run into that space. Sometimes the dislocation of the clavicle can actually compress or lacerate these blood vessels, potentially leading to immediate death. Brown was sent to a nearby hospital last night, Saturday, to get evaluated. Likely he underwent multiple imaging studies, including a CAT scan to determine exactly which bones and ligaments were injured and if there was any life-threatening injuries. Finally, he says they needed to make sure he didn't lacerate any of his important blood vessels behind the sternum. Since he was released on Sunday, that means he did not require surgery. It doesn't specify if he suffered an anterior or posterior dislocation. I expect him to return in about 4 to 6 weeks, Steve. What do you think about Hollywood Brown? That is a lot of info, and a lot of Chiefs Kingdom has been asking about this. It's a scary situation. What do you think about it?
So it's a super scary situation, Mike. We're just glad that Hollywood's okay, but it does suck really bad that his first catch as a Kansas City Chief in the preseason happened to turn into an injury that's going to land him on the sidelines for up to 6 weeks.
Yeah, Steve, we've seen this with Tyreek Hill all the way back in 2019. He was hospitalized with that shoulder injury, which was the exact same thing, happened on the exact same field versus the Jaguars. All the way back in 2019, Rappaport reported that Hill didn't have to require surgery then, just like Marquise Hollywood Brown did not have to require surgery this time. He actually got hit by Jalen Ramsey near the sideline, and Hill was attended to by the training staff before he was carted off the field. This is what happened, though. Hill was expected to need 4 to 6 weeks to recover. He only missed 4 games. He returned to game action 35 days after suffering the initial injury. Steve, if Hollywood Brown can come back on that same timetable of 35 days, he will come back before week 2 versus the Bengals. So the only game he could miss might be week 1.
That would be best case scenario. But obviously you don't want to rush them back in. I think we're in a good spot as far as receivers go. All the talk in the offseason has been how can they fit 6 or 7 good receivers on this roster, because there's a lot of guys on there that people don't want to say bye to. So they've been trying to see who all we can cram in. Well, now this kind of opens up a space at the beginning of the season for game 1, 2, even 3 if Hollywood needs the time to recover. We'll be just fine. And it also leads to other people talking about the return of Juju Smith-Schuster now that he's been cut from the Patriots, and a lot of other things too.
Right. Well, we seen the other night, once he went off the field, the first guy in was Sky Moore. He was replaced by Sky Moore. He came in, he ran with the ones. We seen that. A lot of people did not like that. But it says Moore's mastery of the playbook and ability to slot in at virtually any receiver position seems to make him a valuable backup for KC. It's a bit surprising that neither Mecole Hardman nor Justin Ross got a crack at that with the first unit, but they did only play 6 snaps after all. Steve, Kadarius Toney was also injured. Justin Watson didn't play. There's some things there. I don't know if it's considering that Sky Moore's the greatest or anything like that, but last night, Sky Moore was there, and that leads me to believe that he's probably safer than most people think when it comes to the bubble.
He's definitely safer than most people think. Everyone else has him having a foot and a half out the door, bro. The Chiefs themselves, they like the kid. They like what he offers. Like that article said, he's very versatile. They can plug and play him anywhere he wants. Yeah, he's not going to be a Pro Bowler. He's not going to shock the world, but he's going to get in there and do what he has to do to make the offense run. That's why they like him. That's why he's going to be there. And right now, with Justin Watson on the sideline, he's WR4, man.
So a lot of people have been asking, what's his rehab going to look like? When's he going to get back? What is going to take place over these next 4 to 6 weeks? Back when Tyreek Hill got injured, this report came out and it said the most significant part of Tyreek Hill's injury was regaining stability to that joint, which is going to be the exact same thing for Hollywood Brown. It said the key will be regaining dynamic stability through rehab. This will be accomplished by putting the joint in compromising positions such as push-ups, grabbing, contested catching, and see how that joint reacts. Dislocation is a real thing, and the medical staff will be sure that the player is ready before reinitiating contact. Exercises to reinforce stability and strength in these positions will be paramount, Steve. They don't want to rush Hollywood back. It is still could be life-threatening if that thing was to separate the wrong way again. So I think we've all got to take our time here. Let Hollywood recover. His health is the most important thing. Football goes on. We've got enough receivers in that room, Steve. I don't think it's going to be a problem.
On a brighter note, everyone was going crazy about Carson Steele's performance on Saturday night in Jacksonville. Chiefs solved a recurring problem with Andy Reid's offense in preseason week 1 versus the Jaguars, reported by Charles Goldman at A to Z Sports. And the fans have gone wild, Mike. Here's some tweets from them. Dambo62 says, still made the 53-man roster tonight. ACU Consuming Jaw says, real deal, Carson Steele. And ACU Misfit, our girl Julia, says, we're witnessing horn levels never before seen. Mike.
Blue Chew, baby, horn levels here.
We also have Beth Sloan, who said, I've been telling you for months, Steele is the real deal. This is how he plays the entire game. He's like the Energizer Bunny. He keeps going, and going.
And going, and going, and going. Steve, that's not the only thing. People were popping out comparisons to Carson Steele last night like you wouldn't believe. Did we just find another Mike Allstott? No disrespect, but more like Christian Okoye. Glad I'm not alone, and I'm not the only one that's seen, Carson Steele looking like Mike Allstott last night. He even got a baby Thor comparison.
Heck yeah, it's
and
me,
down
baby.
here, yeah, Perfect Player says he reminds me of Peyton Hillis, Steve. It didn't stop there. Just like LaMichael Pirine, people were completely horned up saying we need to get rid of now CEH. We need to get rid of Deneric Prince. He looked kind of crappy. Again, Carson had a great game, Steve. 4 carries, 29 yards, 1 touchdown, 7.3 yards per carry, and a 7.25 rushing yards after contact per carry. So he had a great game. But check out some of these right here. Nothing against CEH. I hope he gets traded or cut. The guy is always good for 1 yard. Chris says, bye-bye CEH. Here comes Carson Steele. Sean says, bruh, Pacheco, Steele, Prince. Enough said. Then we've got the Mad King saying, got me excited to see Steele and Pacheco sharing the run game. We have a Pacheco and Steele comment. And then Christopher comes in and says, hashtag weaned up. Carson Steele behind or in front of Pop all day long. Screw anyone else. CEH and Prince looked mid. Pop and Steele popped off the preseason screen. So too did Justin Ross. Remigio caught passes, yes, but can't secure the ball once it was caught, Steve. Everybody was horned up about a few particular people, but Carson Steele absolutely stole the show. What do you think? Are you impressed by Carson Steele?
Well, I'm just going to allude back to the story by Charles Goldman. Did the Chiefs solve a problem that's been recurring for years now with Carson Steele? They very well could, Mike. We've talked about going back to the fullback position because we suck on 3rd and 1. We suck on any short yardage situation, and we've seen it recur over and over again, costing us some games at times. But now you have a guy that you just give this man the ball, he's going to eat. He's going to get you that 1 yard, and you don't even sweat it. So as long as the Chiefs will go to that, if he's available, I'm okay with it. But I don't have a whole lot of faith that Andy and crew will hand him the ball when he needs to have it because they like to pass.
Right. We said Carson Steele was going to come on here in the preseason. We said to look for it. It was something that we had been seeing throughout camp, Steve. He's developed trust with Andy, all the coaches. Andy was even asked in pressers what he thought about him, and he expressed multiple times that he's impressed with what he can do as a runner with the ball in his hands, not just all the things that a fullback can do. He thinks he can be a running back.
Yeah.
He showed that last night, and he looked pretty special, to be honest. Speaking of running backs, LRZ got his first action last night in Jacksonville. He had 2 carries for a yard. He had 1 catch for 3 yards. He caught the opening kickoff, but he took a knee in the end zone, and he actually kicked the ball off later in the game. The Irish NFL show spoke to him afterwards about how his transition to football is going and how his very first start in the NFL went.
All right, Lewis, talk to us about that first experience out there today.
Yeah, it was a great first experience. I loved it. Loved getting the snaps that I did on special teams as well, which was great. I just got to look back on this, review it, and see how I can get better.
Yeah, there's a little bit of everything out there: catching, running, and then that kickoff late in the fourth quarter. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
like Glamorgan days there, huh?
Yeah, I got a little kickoff. No, that was great.
Yeah.
Being able to play special teams is amazing.
Yeah.
Being able to exploit different skills. But yeah, I'm happy, and I'm going to see how I can get better and take on to the next game.
And how was it compared to a Six Nations game? The atmosphere, the crowd, how they got into it?
Yeah, the atmosphere was great. It's pretty electric in this stadium, and there was a load of Chiefs fans, which helped massively. So great game, and looking forward to the next one.
So, Mike, it sounds like Rees Zammit just needs to get a little better at the game.
You need that accent to get better, Steve. All the guys from Wales watching the show right now is going to be chasing you.
Hey, don't get your panties in. What? I'm just playing. Just having a little fun.
Come on. Steve, Rees Zammit looked pretty good. A lot of people are saying Carson Steele stole the show. Of course he did. The dude's been playing football forever. Rees Zammit has played football now for 1 game.
Oh, Mike, we've been telling all of Chiefs Kingdom, horn levels got to turn down just slightly with Rees Zammit because the poor guy's never freaking played football before.
Right.
Give him some time. Quit giving that kid unrealistic expectations and just take it for what it is. He's a fantastic athlete who's going to take a little bit of time to adjust to a new game. This is a rugby player, not a football player. Give him some time, man. He'll be valuable, I think.
Steve, the new kickoff rule went into effect last night for the Chiefs. That's the first time we got to see it. And boy, it was gross. Chiefs hot potato kickoff was ruled a safety, but is that the correct call? We got some explanation here. It says when Hardman gained possession of the ball, he was in the end zone, but the ball was in the field of play. Therefore, the ball was no longer a kick at the 1-yard line, and Hardman is responsible for that ball crossing the line, not the Jaguars. In the rule book terminology, Hardman's act means the Chiefs are charged with providing the impetus to put the ball in the end zone. It goes on to say, after I discussed it with the former on-field official, there is a reason why this isn't ruled down at the 1-yard line. According to Rule 721D, the ball is dead when a runner declares himself down by falling to the ground or kneeling and clearly making no immediate effort to advance. So in order to establish the fact that Hardman is not making an effort to advance, that takes an element of time, which means the ball is still live when brings it back into the end zone. A quarterback who kneels after receiving the snap kills the play immediately, but that is a different situation and has a separate entry under Rule 721. Finally, it says eliminating that possibility of being down at the 1, the safety was the correct call in this case. Also, since there was possession in the field of play, the game clock was adjusted from 26 seconds to 25 seconds. If the ball bounced back into the end zone and was not recovered for a touchback, the clock does not run. That is a lot, Steve. These officials don't need any more rules to try to decipher and to sway games and to make judgment calls on. And I don't like this new kickoff rule. I think by the end of it, everybody's going to boot it out of the back of the end zone, take it at the 30. That's what Tobe should have done all night last night.
Mike, it still doesn't make any damn sense to me. That ball hit in the end zone to begin with, which if it wasn't played, that should have been dead ball, correct? Isn't that how it normally goes on a kickoff? I know it's a new rule, but this new rule sucks. It looks very amateurish. It's very Bush League, as our boy K. Wayne would say. It doesn't look like a professional sport taking place. It's awful. It's terrible. I hope they decide to go back to the old rule because this one stinks, Michael.
Yeah, I don't really understand it. I don't think a lot of people understand it. The players don't understand it. The coaches aren't getting it. The NFL officials aren't even understanding it. So at the end of the day, can we just go back to playing legit football? Okay? Quit with all this crap. It looks like something straight out of the UFL or the XFL. That's exactly what it looked like.
That's what it
doesn't
is.
look good. Exactly. It doesn't look good. I don't like it. Is it going to make it more exciting? That's yet to be seen. To be honest, I still think they're all going to boot it out and take it at the 30. That's what I think is going to happen, so we'll see. Finally, Steve, let's take a look at the snap counts for the preseason game versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. For the offense, it looks like Hanson, Driscoll, Norzad, Godric, and Caliendo got a lot of the snaps, which was the backup offensive line. Nico, Cornell Powell, Montrell Washington, and even Justin Ross down there got over 37% of the snaps, which I don't find to be that crazy. Those are the guys fighting on the bubble, Steve. Deneric Prince ended up getting 24% of the snaps. Sky Moore, Cavante Ingram, they all were right around the 20% mark. You've seen Rees Zammit have 9 snaps. Carson Steele, Amani Bailey both had the exact same, Steve. So I don't think that's anything. And then what you're going to see is Kingsley, Jawan Taylor, Humphrey Smith, all the starters down here, Kelsey, Pacheco, Mahomes, Rice, they all had 6 snaps. Worthy only had 5. I get it. Marquise Brown obviously only had the 1 before he was injured. Steve, do you find it weird that Kingsley and Xavier Worthy only took snaps with the first team? They didn't say, hey, they need more time. They need more reps. Andy was fine with it.
I don't find it weird at all. I've been saying that Kingsley Suamataia is going to be your starting left tackle. I believe that's what's going on here. And then Xavier Worthy, I think, has already proved to be a big enough weapon on the field that he's definitely going to be a starter as well. And you saw what happened to Hollywood Brown in just 1 catch. You have to remember, Xavier Worthy is the same size as Hollywood Brown. We don't need anything like that happening in the preseason when it's unnecessary.
100%. Let's look at the defense. Chris Rowland Wallace and Felix had the biggest snap counts at 66 and 62%. Keith Taylor was also at 62%. The one thing I noticed, Steve, is you had a lot of DBs like Keith Taylor. You even had Josh Williams and Echo Boydo playing 22 and 21 snaps here. DJ Miller took 19 snaps for 33%. And if you come all the way down here, Miles Battle, 15 snaps, 26%. And the one guy down at the bottom, Kamal Hadden, only him and Leo took 7 snaps. Right above them, McDuffie had 8. Steve, is Kamal Hadden in the same boat as Kingsley and Xavier Worthy? I don't think so. Is this maybe something saying Kamal may be on the bad side here? Maybe he has to show himself a little better in practice to earn more snap counts in the following games.
This is the only one that's really confusing to me because it really doesn't make sense. I think Kamal Hadden's somebody that we would like to see out there more often in the preseason to get a feel for what he can do. He was a late round draft pick. He's got a lot of potential, but he also went through a lot of injuries in college. So I think getting him out there and seeing what he can do at this level, that's integral to seeing if he can make this 53-man roster. So I thought it was odd that he didn't play very much.
Jaden Hicks last night had a standout night, in my opinion, versus Jacksonville. I think he was probably the defensive standout like Carson was on the offensive side of the ball. Jaden Hicks looked very good, so I was surprised to not see Kamal Hadden getting a shot to do that as well. We seen Keith Taylor actually taking some snaps at corner for a big chunk of the night, and he was getting beat nonstop. A lot of people in our chat were saying that Keith Taylor looks bad. He's probably going to get cut. Maybe this is something that they're going to go back on film and look at, and maybe Kamal Hadden can start taking over some reps for him in preseason game number 2 against the Detroit Lions.
Hear ye, hear ye. It's time for Beyond the Kingdom.
Hear ye, hear ye.
Hear ye.
They heard me, I think.
They've heard you.
Let's go beyond the kingdom where we go around the NFL and see what kind of news we can dig up and talk about. We got the Falcons placing rookie linebacker Braylon Trice on the injured reserve, Mike, with a torn ACL. Ooh. That sucks, bro.
You hate seeing it. You don't like seeing injuries, but you definitely don't want to see them on young guys. They're just out there trying to make a team, trying to get themselves established in this league. It sucks. But this is why Andy didn't play Kingsley a lot. It's why he's not playing Xavier Worthy. I was surprised some of the rookies on defense. Did you know Felix Anudike-Uzomah was playing into the 3rd and the 4th quarter? I mean, I know our defensive line is thin, but let's not have any kind of injuries like that in these meaningless preseason games.
Yeah, we saw it happen to our boy McCade. It was freaking heartbreaking. You got guys working their ass off to make their dream come true, and then something like that happens, and it's over. Speaking of injuries, the Steelers' first-round draft pick, offensive tackle Troy Fautanu, will miss at least upcoming preseason game versus the Bills with a knee sprain, Mike. This was one of your boys. You thought this was going to be a good one.
Yeah, I like Troy Fautanu. It come out that there was something wrong with a knee, this and that. I didn't firmly believe it, but it looks like maybe there was something there, unless this is something different. Says he has a knee sprain. It doesn't look super serious. He may only miss one preseason game. I hope it's nothing. I don't want to see injuries for anybody. I really like Troy Fautanu. I think he offered a lot of versatility. He could play left tackle. He could play right. He could play anywhere along that line. That kid's good. I want to see him have a good, long career.
Mike Bo Nix took the Denver Broncos by storm in his preseason debut. He had 4 scoring drives that he led. All he had to say about it was a good day, but their fans were going nuts. I think I saw a live video of Brandon Perna on X actually passing out because all the blood ran from his head to his wiener, bro.
Yeah, the Denver fans had a full-on erection, Steve, but we all seen it coming. Bo Nix is serviceable. He throws very high accurate passes. He can hit you down the field. Him and Sean Payton were a match made in heaven. If he were to win Rookie of the Year or come out and have a good year like C.J. Stroud, I wouldn't be all that taken aback by it. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not.
Another NFL rookie quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, showed out in his first NFL action. Through one preseason game, these were his stats. Passing 11 of 17 at 65% for 188 yards, 11.1 yards per attempt, Michael. He had 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. And rushing, he got out and scrambled for about 18 yards. What do you think about J.J.?
Yeah, J.J. and the Vikings, we thought that was a good place for him to land. J.J. McCarthy is very solid. I know he can make all the throws. He was climbing up the draft boards. It's not that surprising to me. I thought him and Bo Nix were the 2 that could probably be set up for success right off the rip. Also, Caleb Williams, they've put a lot of pieces around, and Ryan Poles has done a good job there. So I think those are the 3 quarterbacks we're going to have to watch for here.
Before we head out of here today, just wanted to take a quick second to thank BetUS. We've partnered with BetUS this season to bring you the greatest of all time sportsbook on the planet. BetUS is currently offering 125% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. That's right. Not only do they have the fastest payouts in the industry, but they also have the fastest and easiest withdrawal process to get those winnings back to you ASAP. Not to mention, if you lose a few times, it's not a big deal. You can get a 10% back on your net losses twice a year. So don't be a freaking slapnut. Go to the pinned comment, go down to the description, click the link, and sign up for BetUS today.
Also, thanks for watching, subscribing, clicking that bell. We'll catch you next time. Go Chiefs.